Hey everyone, RogueGold here, welcome back to The Division 2, and today it feels unreal to finally be able to say that the Battle for Brooklyn DLC launches this month. Brooklyn and the Year 7 Season 1 update for the game launches at the end of the month on May 27th. It's going to be a fun moment for the Division 2 community, but we still have a couple of weeks until that arrives, and in the time since the DLC's reveal the other week, I have been flooded with questions from people asking what they can do now to prepare for its arrival. Now, I want to make something clear from the top here. Largely, you do not need to do a whole lot. Battle for Brooklyn is not raising the level cap, meaning you can take in your same characters and builds right into the new content on day one. Even if you are a brand new or returning player, buying the DLC grants you a level 40 character skip, meaning you have the option to jump straight to max level in the endgame, and treat Brooklyn's content as your tutorial and mini campaign to get you straight into the world. That said, if you're the kind of person that wants to go the extra mile and be as prepared as you possibly can be, I get it, that's me as well. In this video, I do have a checklist of items that are worth being aware of that you may want to tackle before the DLC's arrival at the end of the month, ranging from recapping on the road to get here, as well as practical tips for in-game stuff. So, we'll get right to it. If you enjoyed the video, if it helps you out, and you want to be sure to get all of the guides and breakdowns I'll have coming your way once Battle for Brooklyn launches, then be sure to click that subscribe button. We'd love to have you here. Timestamps will be listed below for each of the tips we're going over, but without further ado, let's get to this. To begin, I want to start with account progression. There may be a variety of people checking out this video, right? Those of you who have played nonstop for years and are all geared and ready to go, or maybe there are those of you who haven't played in a year or two. Hell, maybe this DLC is going to be your first experience with the Division 2 ever. Wherever in your journey you may be at, a couple of things to be aware of. To the best of our knowledge at this time, you will need to be at the maximum character level of 40 in order to access this new DLC, but importantly, thanks to some of the changes made in the last year of content, you don't need to own any additional expansion or DLC packs in order to reach that maximum character level in the Division 2. By just owning the base game, you can level up within the Washington DC map in order to reach the endgame and engage with the same content as everybody else. So, you've got time to take a new or lapsed character through the campaign or dust off those old builds and get ready. As I mentioned in the intro, however, purchasing the DLC will also give your account the ability to create a new character and instantly boost them to level 40. So, if you're brand new or returning, you will have the ability to jump right in if you so choose. For many, though, that may prove to be a bit jarring or overwhelming, so these weeks until the DLC's release is the perfect time to start out from level 1 and begin learning what the game has to offer. If you are somebody on that path, or you're coming back to the game after a long time away and are wondering what has changed, a few months ago I put out an updated and comprehensive new and returning player guide for the Division 2. Judging by the comments on there, it has helped many find their footing in the game, so in case you're somebody who may need that resource, it'll be linked in the description below. Next, let's discuss story. You may be wondering, if I haven't played the Division 2 in years, or I never have before, am I going to be completely lost heading into Battle for Brooklyn's campaign missions? Well, at the end of the day, familiarity and context is key. There will be a degree of references and other things within the DLC that only those fully up to date on the lore might understand. However, it is important to know that the developers have clearly stated that they decided upon the storyline and direction for this DLC's narrative with new players in mind, especially given its inclusion of a level 40 boost. They want new agents to be able to jump straight into the Brooklyn action and not be completely lost on what's going on. The narrative of this DLC is said to run more adjacent to the ongoing seasonal storyline that the game offers, more so than being a direct continuation of it, so that might offer some relief to some of you, but again, there will of course be some level of tie-ins and other references that only those steeped in the game's lore might understand. If you're looking to try and brush up on your Division 2 knowledge, I do have a lore recap video that specifically focuses on covering the need-to-know elements and tries to avoid the complex details as much as possible. That covers everything from the launch of the game up until the end of Year 5, so it covers most of what you'd want to know. That will be linked down below as well if you need it. However, if you do want that fine detail, or you just want to plug some of the holes that my video doesn't address, then I highly recommend for you to check out NGN, a fellow Division creator of mine here on YouTube. The community has more or less granted him the title of Lore Keeper. He's got every morsel of info you'd need to know. Once more, check out the description for a link to his channel if you're interested. Moving on, let's get into some greater specifics here, shall we? I'd be remiss without touching on the concept of SHD Watch Mules. Now, at this point, we are obviously moving more into the territory of speaking directly to players who have been around for a while and are familiar with the game systems. Many of you likely know about the concept of Watch Mules. Using the level 30 character boost offered by the Warlords of New York expansion, you can create secondary characters that are already 3/4 of the way to max level. You then speedrun those characters to the cap of 40. Upon hitting that, you're then of course granted the SHD Watch. If you already have an existing character in the endgame, then all alt characters will automatically share that same main agent's shade level. So the trick is to then buy a blueprint sold by Anaya at the crafting station that allows you to share your resource and material pools between every character. This is useful because of the SHD Watch's offering of scavenging points, which can be redeemed for a variety of resources and materials. So because these alt characters suddenly match your main character's level, which can sometimes be up in the thousands, by simply owning that blueprint, your quick alt character run has suddenly netted you thousands more scavenging points to be spent on materials that will then be shared with your main character, where you likely needed the materials and progression to begin with. I recap that entire concept here because it's actually being removed with the launch of Battle for Brooklyn. So this has become a pretty divisive point within the community. Watch Mules, while very odd in how they basically allow you to bypass the intended endgame grind and progression, I've never been a big fan of their existence personally, but the ability to use this method has existed for years, and it looked like the devs just didn't seem to care about fixing it. However, since this DLC is introducing a level 40 character boost, if kept in place, this would mean that you could make a new character and instantly cash out on those thousands of free materials, foregoing what little investment the current Watch Mule method requires of you. So, a couple of things to note here in preparation for the removal of Watch Mules from the game. Firstly, if you want to go through that method, making a secondary character, getting to max level, and redeeming those points, you've got until the end of the month to do so, right? It's still here. On a similar note, any existing alt characters you may have at the moment with available points, it would be wise to spend them prior to this change going in on May 27th. Not only is it possible to overcap on some materials, which, while we don't have 100% confirmation that a hard cap wouldn't be enforced alongside these changes, it is better than letting these unspent points go to waste. But additionally, the devs did confirm that in compensation for removing this feature, they are going to grant everybody one final dose of shade points, which, to the very best of my understanding, and trust me, this entire discussion gives me a headache, it is convoluted, but I believe that they mean that whatever shade level you are, that number of scavenging points will be added for free on May 27th. So again, I know that's all a lot. Bottom line is that if you are somebody who uses the Watch Mule functionality regularly, or if it sounds of interest to you, you've got less than a month before it's gone, so get to it. Next, let's talk about skill mods. As you may have heard, the Battle for Brooklyn DLC is delivering a new skill for our arsenal, that being Smart Cover, which is great, it'll be fun to have a new toy to play with. Along with the new skill, however, means a new batch of skill mods to go with it. And as you may know from the existing skills we have in-game, sometimes there can be a variety of mods that you choose to collect and hold onto for different builds. The reason I bring this up is that mods have their own separate pouch within our inventories, and that pouch is capped at 100. Despite us getting a new skill, it has not been communicated that our mod inventory space will be increased. So in the event that we now need to fit more mods into the existing inventory space, it does not hurt to prepare now, especially if you're already close to that 100 cap, by either offloading unneeded or lesser used mods you may have, or to dedicate some stash space to storing a few. Remember that we are getting 50 additional stash space slots by purchasing Battle for Brooklyn, so perhaps you could dedicate some of that new space to mods specifically. Either way, just know that some inventory juggling may be required with the introduction of this new skill. Alright, and then finally, for my last piece of preparation advice, we have builds. Now, let me make clear from the start here, as I mentioned in the intro, a level cap increase is not being added with this DLC, meaning all of your existing gear, loadouts, everything will carry right on into this new content, and if you've already got builds that decimate heroic content, those are likely going to do just as fine in Brooklyn's missions and world. That being said, there is a new gameplay mechanic that we're going to need to adjust to in Brooklyn's combat, that being the Purple Flame, which entails your armor being damaged by a corrosive effect when you're set on fire, diminishing your maximum armor value until you're able to clear the effect. So whether you want to make a build that may be able to more effectively tackle that new gameplay element, or you just want to be fancy and roll into Brooklyn with a thematically sound build for finding the cleaners, let me offer you a few loose recommendations. As always, builds are preferential, and I encourage you to try things out, find out what works best for you, but if you want some overall inspiration, here are some ideas that I would consider. If you want to avoid fire and the purple flame as much as possible, then maybe you want to go for a hazard protection build. Here's one example of a backfire build tuned for PvE, with Cheska and Y'all's brand bonuses as well as bleed resist mods and hazard protection rolls on our gear. We're achieving 100% resistance to bleed from the backfire's talent, while also blocking out burn entirely. But utilizing the memento, as well as backfire's intrinsic close quarter lethality due to being an SMG and having a great crit-based talent, this build will still pack a punch to any axe wielder or weak point covered cleaner headed your way. Alternatively, if you want a build that can help better sustain you in a firefight, you could consider the refactor gear set. Combating the purple flame will drain you of armor kits pretty quickly, guaranteed, but by using something like refactor, all you need to do is focus on mowing down cleaners with your skills, and the damage will be transferred back to you in healing, keeping you topped off at whatever your current maximum is. A few different ways you could run this, of course, but this one is a bit more tuned for solo play. My friends, that is just about going to do it. That is every scrap of preparation I can think to offer you all heading into the release of the Division 2's Battle for Brooklyn DLC later this month. The most important thing to remember though, I think, is that regardless of what your preparations are, if you do any at all, there is no more important thing than to enjoy your time with the DLC. It's not often we get this kind of release for the Division 2. It's literally been 5 years since the last one, so don't take things too seriously. Roll those shoulders, kick back, and enjoy whatever this DLC brings our way. Hopefully it's a good time. That being said, any outstanding questions you may still have after watching the video, let me know down in the comments below. As always, I'm happy to clarify anything I can. Not long to wait, my friends. I hope you're as excited as I am. That's all for me on this one. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you back soon. Until then, RogueGold. Out.